All right, guys. So from my point of view, it's been a couple of days since I recorded one of these videos, but if I planned everything out right, this is coming on the same day as your accessory organs video. So you should have just got done watching that. Now let me give myself at least a little recap here. You've already chewed your food. That's a mechanical breakdown. You swallowed your food into your stomach, and the acid gave it a chemical breakdown. So you made the food stuff smaller, and then the acid made the molecules ripped apart and smaller. Now that moved into your small intestine, and where we stopped movement at that point. With the accessory organs, you created a bunch of chemicals that broke down the molecules even further. And that's where we left off. Now it's time to talk about where we currently are, the intestines, specifically the small intestine is where we're going in for this. Let's make this bigger here. Your small intestine is a tube-shaped organ between the stomach and the large intestine. Right? Uses the pancreatic juice and bile to digest food. Right? So this is the first part of your small intestine right here. So up here, not shown, would have been your stomach. Right? And actually over here, emptying into the small intestine where your liver and your pancreas are spilling fluids through right here. That's another small sphincter, by the way, but we're only naming the really big ones right here. And you are pouring these chemicals in. Those chemicals are going to flood through your small intestine, follow the yellow, and as it's moving along with that chyme, and breaking it down much, much, much smaller as it moves. And as it's moving, your intestines are absorbing those nutrients. Just like your lungs are designed to absorb oxygen from the air you breathe, your intestines are designed to absorb the good nutrients that your body wants, but try to leave behind the bad stuff that your body doesn't want. Your intestines are going to be split into three different sections. Your small intestine, I should say, is going to be split into three different sections. We call them the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. All right, this is an I, capital I, lowercase l. All right, ileum. Okay. Let's start with the duodenum, which I've also heard pronounced duodenum. I don't care which one you choose. I prefer duodenum. Your jejunum is going to be a much larger area after that. And then ileum is going to be the final step. There is no official transition point. Like there's no point where a doctor is going to go, yes, right there is where you're going to go from the duodenum to the jejunum. It's a rough estimate location. All right. So let's separate them out here. First, your duodenum, the first section of the small intestine. This is where all of the chyme, yes, when your stomach's done with it, it's officially chyme, spills into the intestines. All right. And this is where we had a bunch of ulcers. You remember the stomach video, we talked about ulcers. I told you about three different kinds. The esophageal ulcers, because it's in your esophagus. The gastric ulcer, we also call it a peptic ulcer, which you did a paper on, a homework assignment. And then a duodenal ulcer, because it's in your duodenum. Your stomach has all that lining that protects it from the acid. Your duodenum doesn't. It's not designed to block things. It's designed to absorb things. So your mucus protection is very limited right there. So if any of this acid happens to drip in, you can actually get some problems. Circling it. So this is one picture, this is another picture, right about here. And then around here it transitions. Jejunum is can be shown, so here's your duodenum again, and then your jejunum is shown here in the dark red. Second section takes up about 2/5, right, of your small intestine. Your duodenum is 1/5, your jejunum is 2/5, and then the next part down here is another 2/5. Jejunum is where most of your digestion is going to take place. And by digestion, I mean at this point, absorption. Right? You're most of absorbing all those great, good nutrients from this nutrition slurry of chyme is going to be absorbed through there. By the time it gets down here to the yellow, not that much is left. And that yellow part is called the ileum, the last section. Oops, I didn't hit that. Where maybe some more absorption can take place, but most of this isn't anything good anymore, nutrition-wise. So at this point that it's in here, we would no longer call it chyme. At this point, It's basically diarrhea. Yes, I know it's gross to think about. Don't think too hard about it, but that's basically what it is. Just a little health medical stuff for you right now. When you get sick, your body decides the stuff that's inside you is bad for you. It tries to flush it out. If that bad stuff is in your stomach, it's faster for your body to push it back where it came and you throw up. But if you've already passed this point and now you're in the intestines, your body decides to get rid of it going out the other way, and that's when you have diarrhea. So that's what that stuff is. It is the chyme that mostly at this point you've already digested or already absorbed the good stuff and leaving just the waste behind. Why is it so watery? Is because it's still full of water. Your large intestine's job after that is for the water. We'll get to there. But before we get there, there's a whole new thing we haven't talked about. It's called the mesentery. This is the membrane that holds the intestines in place. Guys, have you ever just look at these pictures and think what is actually holding it in place? Sure, gravity, I guess, is piled on top of each other, but you do jumping jacks, you take a jump shot, you land, shouldn't this stuff just kind of get pushed down to your pelvis every time you land? You jump off something, when you land, everything should go down. It doesn't though, because it's held in place by a membrane called the mesentery. It attaches to the inside wall of your abdominal cavity. So this is a picture of a person standing off to the side. They're looking in this direction, right? This is your vertebrae, your backbone. Your belly button would be over here, and this person is cut in half so we can see their inside. So this would be part of the stomach. We got the large intestine right here, a bunch of pieces of the small intestine all cut and open, and you can see the yellow. The yellow is this mesentery membrane that's attached to the back of the abdominal cavity, reaches down and wraps around the different sections of your small intestine, holding it in place. So your intestines are actually dangling inside of your body. Warning for those of you who get grossed out by things. I'm going to show you some real body parts. It's be a good idea to close your eyes. I'll let you know when to open them. This is a piece of intestine that has been pulled out so you can see. And I'm pretty sure this isn't even human. Probably came from a butcher shop picture, but it looks just like ours. Mammalian small intestines all basically look the same. What you are seeing is the intestine pulled out, and this plasticky looking stuff is the mesentery, the membrane that's holding it in. Now you see it's torn here. The person who pulled it out ripped it a bit, and when it's intact, it continues to the inside abdominal wall. And you can see it's thicker around here near these red things. These red things are blood vessels, right? Just like with your lungs, where we had the blood vessels coming to the alveoli and collecting the oxygen, right? We got something similar to that in there called villi. We'll get to that in a section, but just like with the alveoli in your lungs, they were surrounded by blood vessels. So here are the blood vessels coming in, going into the intestines, and those small capillaries are spreading out, collecting nutrients. Talk about how that happens in a second. Next picture is still real picture, by the way. This came from a dissection, so this is most likely a pig. Most likely a fetal pig, actually. The blood has been replaced with this pinkish liquid, so we can still see it. But same idea, the mesentery has been pulled out. You can see where it's thick, and the blood comes in along in the mesentery and wraps around to get inside the intestines. And no, I don't know what this is because it's already been dissected, but it looks like it used to be a kidney or a liver. And this word here, omentum, we'll get to. Actually, next, here it is. The greater omentum. We need to keep those intestines protected. They're very soft, very delicate, and very important. So we have multiple layers of protection. First thing we're going to have in front is your skin, obviously. Behind that, we have a layer of fat for protection. Beyond that, your abs, your abdominal muscles. But beyond that, in between your muscles and the actual intestines, you have a curtain of fat. It's just hanging. It attaches up here on the large intestine, underneath the stomach, hangs down in front of all the intestines. So if you actually have to do a human dissection, you'd either have to cut through this or reach down and pull this up like a real curtain, because it is. It's there for protection. It's padding. That's all it does. And it's fat, so it stores some stuff too. Gentlemen, more so than ladies, this actually seems to be a guy thing. Doctors think it's because of testosterone. But gentlemen, your greater omentum tends to get larger, especially as you get older. It's kind of one of the main causes of what they call the dad bod. Someone who looks mostly fit except for their stomach sticking out. Don't blame it all on this though, because it's probably because of overeating, over drinking as well. But for men, because of testosterone causing greater growth and greater storage, this tends to get larger for men, and they tend to get that dad bod, beer belly looking thing going. That is a perfectly normal, natural thing to happen once you hit closer to middle age. All right, zooming in back into the small intestines, we have these things called villi, finger-like projections inside the intestines. I'm going to back out real quick. Oh, wrong button. Here we go. I had some old peristalsis videos. I don't think you guys need to see much of that again, but I'll probably put it back. Here's what I'm looking for. The alveoli. If you remember that from the lungs, zooming in here, it was these. Of course. Zoom in here. Let's not let me zoom. Here we go. Inside the lungs, this was one of the bronchial tubes where the oxygen was moving, and they, at the end, were surrounded by blood vessels where the oxygen entered your blood. All right, you're going to have something similar to that. All right, this is, if you remember the tissues chapter in the very beginning of the year, I showed you slides like this. This is from the lining of your intestines, the inside. All right, so your food is traveling up here, and this is the wall of your intestine. All right, so there should be another one up here, but it's not in the picture. Right. And you can see it looks kind of fuzzy, all right, almost like the fleece of a fleece sweater. Right. Zooming in, those little fuzzy pieces look like this, and those are called villi. And inside the villi, you have blood vessels. So nutrients come in, they get sucked in between the cells, and this is only one cell thick, by the way, so it's one cell, one cell, one cell, one cell, and the nutrients get sucked in between the cells and into the blood vessels. So again, back to my videos, or here. So you guys can't see it, but I got something up here blocking it on my side. All right. So here's your small intestine. We're going to cut a slice off of it and look inside, and we're going to take a look at this little piece, zooming in, and it looks all fuzzy and furry. Right? Those are villi. Fast forward a bit. It's just some boring announcer talking. I'm the only boring announcer who gets to be here today. All right. And inside the villi are your blood vessels. The nutrients go in between the cells and go into the blood vessels, and then they go. Now, this is one of the cells, and you see on the edge, we have these things called microvilli, areas for more absorption. So they can actually get sucked into the cells at each microvilli and travel through. The more surface area you have, the more nutrients can get absorbed. So microvilli actually makes it more productive. And it shows these are all the nutrients, the food molecules getting sucked in into the blood vessels and moving around your body. Got another video, get bigger here. So this is inside the intestine. You are the food moving through the intestines, and you can see all the villi inside. Intestinal diseases cause this is, don't need him. So all those, that was peristalsis making everything move, by the way. Zooming in on one of the microvilli, you could see that they look kind of furry because of all the, these are all the villi, and you see it looks furry because of all the microvilli. So this is one cell with all of the microvilli on top, and this is some white blood cell. macrophage probably, who just ate a piece of bacteria, keeping you safe. But these things are also absorbing nutrients through to the other side. This is inside one villi, where there will be a blood vessel in there waiting for nutrients. And I'm pretty sure this video doesn't go that far because it's talking about diseases, bacteria. And this is just a really cool picture. You can see the villi and all the molecules and nutrients getting absorbed. Right. This is all happening in your small intestine. Right. That is how all the nutrients get in from your intestines into your blood, and then the nutrients spread all around your body. And those of you who are queasy not watching, I forgot to say that all that stuff, those last couple of villi videos were not real. You were free to look, so go ahead and rewind on the YouTube version of this anyway. They'll let you rewind. So here are the villi pictures again, for those of you who weren't looking. So villi covering the lining of your intestines, zoomed in, cartoony picture of your blood vessels on the inside. All right. Now, moving away from the small intestine, we have now absorbed all of our nutrients. We left behind all the bad stuff that we don't want, that we don't like, we want to get rid of, right? But we're not done yet because there's still water in there. Right? You drank a lot of water to wash that food down. We did not absorb water through the villi. We don't do that there. So all of that water and all of that waste that we didn't want is now going to travel into the large intestine in this part that we call the cecum. So this is the ileum, and this is the cecum. So the doorway in between is known as the ileocecal sphincter, right? That is our third sphincter we talked about. Your first one was in the beginning of the stomach, cardiac sphincter, then at the end of the stomach, which was the pyloric sphincter, and now this is the ileocecal sphincter, from the ileum to the cecum. I don't think I need to show you another sphincter video. You've seen enough of that. What do your large intestines do? They absorb the water. So you got all of this waste, and it's all floating inside all of that water. Your large intestine's job is to get the water into your blood, but leaving the bad waste behind. Right? If you get the waste into your blood, we call that going septic, and it can be deadly. We want to keep it separate. And that's your large intestine's job. So as it moves across, the water gets absorbed, and then by the time it gets to the end, you have solid waste, which you get rid of by going to the bathroom. Right? And all of that is, well, you know what that is. You're human. You go to the bathroom. All right. So let's talk about the parts of that large intestine. We got at first that pouch. By the way, at this point, we were still at school. I would have been writing on the board to fill all this stuff out. This PowerPoint is not letting me write. So we can just follow along here. This is called the cecum, this pouch at the bottom, this the small intestine emptied into. Not shown, right, hanging, a little tiny thing hanging off here is the appendix. All right, it looks like a little finger sticking off. Like I said, it's not in this picture for some reason. Thought it was. That appendix attaches to the bottom of the cecum, and there's no real known function. Officially, we don't actually know what the appendix did, but many doctors speculate that it used to create fluids that helped you break down and digest raw vegetation. People think it was for raw meat. Raw meat's actually very easy to break down. Raw vegetation is very difficult, which is why we have to cook many of our vegetables in order to eat it. But our ancestors before cooking would have probably depended on that appendix. Now, not much of anything. Though it does have a bonus of being a place for bacteria to live, and some of that bacteria helps us digest. So it's good bacteria, and some of it stays in there for safety, so we don't accidentally get rid of it going to the bathroom. All right, moving on. We were in that pouch, the cecum, and then it's going to move up what we call the ascending colon. By the way, another word for your large intestine is colon. So This part going up is the ascending colon. And then this part going across is the transverse colon, which spelled out right here for you. Right? Ascending right here means to ascend, to go up. Transverse means to go across something. Like when you cross the street, you're transversing the street. So this is going across your body, and then your descending colon, and then your sigmoid colon, which I've looked up once before, and I forget exactly, but it's based off like the shape of a Greek letter, like the lowercase version of sigma, I think it was. That had to do with the shape of this section. That's the sigmoid colon. And then this part is a word that you probably do recognize. This is the rectum. But the rectum is a storage area, right? All this waste is moving, and when it gets here, you may not be near a bathroom. So you actually have to get rid of all that waste eventually, but not right now because you're still wearing your pants, you're in public, or something, whatever. So this is going to be a storage area. And then this last part, what is keeping everything in the rectum is your last sphincter called the anus. And that is another word that you probably already recognize. But here's what you probably don't recognize. I said that there were 5 sphincters throughout your digestive system, and that was now your 4th one. So what would be after that? Nothing. It's not after. It's overlapping. You actually have 2 of them right here. You have 2 anuses, one on top of the other, right? Made of 2 sphincters. One is used to hold the other one shut, right? You have the internal sphincter shown here. Look at my mouse, right? Here and here. That's your internal sphincter wrapping around. I didn't mean to hit that. Wrapping around. And you do not have control over that. Just like the cardiac sphincter, pyloric sphincter, and ileocecal sphincters, those were beyond your control, right? Your body just took care of that for you. We don't want that happening while you're out in public, right? We don't want your body just going, oh, time to go to the bathroom and open this up, and there's a big mess happening, all right? So we actually have the outer anus that we do control. This is a muscle we do have control over. We call it the external anal sphincter. Internal anal sphincter we don't control. External anal sphincter we do control. And this is used to keep this internal one shut until you can find a toilet. So this is inside is involuntary, outside is completely voluntary. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the digestive system. All right, there was a lot of stuff going on. It's one of your biggest systems. It starts in the beginning of your body and ends at the end of your body. But that is it for the notes. Please go back to Google Classroom and look for an assignment. Right? We are going to have, according to my notes, one more day of review on Wednesday, and then Friday is going to be some test questions. So please make sure that you are going back to the YouTube versions of these videos so you can go refresh your memory on things. All right, guys, good luck.